everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Intrepid Ibex. Thank you for joining me on this rainy day. You may be wondering why some guy posted a video of himself driving in the rain. Well, today we are doing an exposure. No, not the seedy kind that involves a naked person in a trench coat. The exposure we are doing is when a person exposes themselves to something that makes them anxious so they can overcome that anxiety. For me, it's driving certain distances. For others, it could be similar, or it could be walking to get the mail, being near birds, hanging out in a social environment, pretty much anything you can imagine that you do or experience on a daily basis. I will go through what I do in 3 phases to improve my chances for success. Phase 1, the planning stage. And this is what I do before I even get in the car. One of those things is therapy. In therapy, you learn about preventing and managing the symptoms of anxiety during events like this. You learn the importance of eating healthy, sleeping, and exercise. Also, knowing what symptoms you may experience beforehand makes them, for me at least, a little less intimidating during the exposure. Another way to prevent anxiety is reducing practical stressors such as car maintenance and personal maintenance. Before I leave, I gas up my car, check the tire pressure, fluids, etc. It's just fewer things to worry about in the long run. Also, I bring along snacks and water to keep my blood sugar level and stay hydrated. So check, check, check. I'm prepared and ready to go. Let's take a break from all the brain talk and have a non sequitur story time. When I first moved to Los Angeles, I was surprised at how slowly people drove in the rain. It was almost like they were driving on ice. It's very different than in Ohio, where we do 70 miles per hour bumper to bumper in a torrential rain. I was also surprised when I saw multiple overturned cars on the highway after it started raining. I remember thinking, how did you manage that? It's only rain. And then one day I was driving home from school on the 134 West, and it started to rain. And I thought, great, I love rain. It's beautiful. Cleans the smog out of the air. But as I was driving down one of the passes, my car started to slide sideways. Thankfully, I didn't overreact. I let off the gas and turned into the slide. I realized how easy it would be to flip a car in the rain, and soon realized after doing some research after my event that the roads are actually super dangerous out here when it starts to rain, because the water sits on top of the layer of oils and emissions that have collected between our few and far between rains out here. So, lesson learned, once it starts to sprinkle or rain in California, I drive like I'm driving on ice. We are well now into phase 2, the exposure. Actually, we were in this phase, it's the beginning of the video, so, well, whatever. Anyway, in this phase, I will stay aware of my symptoms, if there are any, such as sweaty palms, faster heartbeat, muscle tension, etc., and manage them using techniques I learned in therapy. Techniques such as breathing, grounding, and relaxing. I'll also answer the greatest question of all. Where the are we going today? Mammoth Lake? Colorado? Switzerland? Nope, this ain't no travel vlog. Today we are on a mission to find snow up in Big Bear Lake. That's right, snow, or as my dog calls it, nature's cocaine. Anyway, it's time for some nitrous. At this point in the drive, I'm actually feeling pretty relaxed. I've done this drive a number of times before, and I'm just getting back into exposure, so it's not really causing me much anxiety at all. I'm about 40 miles from home. I'll still do some grounding, which is me just reminding myself of where I am, what I'm doing, and why I'm driving into the mountains. This may sound absurd to most, but it's important because sometimes you drive 4 hours for an exposure or 6 hours and ask yourself, why the am I in the middle of the desert in California? Grounding makes you take a second to realize you're doing all this with the goal of driving to different states without feeling super anxious. Well, we're getting up in the mountains now, and you gotta love the majestic mountain views and the lack of people. It's time for, because that's the sound my camera makes. Thank you for joining me for that brief moment of where we capture moments in time. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. As we drive up these curvy mountain roads, I started to notice a little bit of muscle tension, a little bit of raised heart rate, and a little bit of anxiety. So now is the time to manage those symptoms and to reduce my heart rate, to reduce the muscle tension in my shoulders. I do an exercise I learned in therapy. And that exercise is you tense your upper torso as you inhale for 7 seconds through your nose, and then as you exhale through your mouth for 5 seconds, you relax all the muscles in your upper torso. And then you repeat it again a second time, but you tense up your lower body, your legs, as you inhale for 7 seconds, and then relax your legs as you exhale for 5 seconds. And for the tension, the muscle tension, the relief is fairly immediate. For the heart rate, it takes a few minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, and you'll notice the heart rate actually starts to lower, at least for me. Well, it's about time for some more DOS. This video is brought to you by Foxfur Professional Performance Socks. The team at Foxfur spent years combining the aesthetic of a dress sock with the performance of a fitness sock, designed to help keep your feet comfortable throughout the day, whether you work in an office or at a construction site. Features include optimized height, Achilles cushion, instep shield, seamless toe, fine mesh ventilation, and light cushion zones for the heel and toe. And all the socks are made of a vegan blend called Capillite that wicks away moisture to keep your feet dry. You can find Foxfur socks at www.foxfurco.com. Use the discount code Intrepid25 at checkout to get 25% off. We are getting closer to Big Bear. I love these giant rock formations. Kind of cool. It's like the thing hiding out in the frickin' mountains. We are sort of sneaking into phase 3, which is a reward, reflect, relax phase. In therapy, they tell you to reward yourself for completing exposure as positive reinforcement, which makes sense. And part of my reward is actually just being in the mountains, getting the fresh air, being away from the city. It's very relaxing. The other part of my reward will be eating some fairly healthy fast food when I get back from a successful exposure. Ultimately, they don't actually have to cost you any money, as long as they feel like a treat. Many watching will probably be thinking, why is driving to the mountains and back so tough? Well, think about something that gives you anxiety. Maybe it's getting a flu shot, speaking in front of an audience, or taking a test. Your reaction may be losing your appetite or overeating. You can't sleep and would do about anything to avoid it. And that's pretty much how I feel about driving long distances. It wasn't always like that, but we can talk about that another day. We have arrived in the greater Big Bear Lake area, and we're going to take a moment to use the restroom since I've drink too much water, and B, take some photos. And what video would be complete without some glorious drone footage? Now that I've reached my destination, I'm going to explore the area till I feel comfortable and relaxed, which reinforces that being here is completely normal and doesn't need to cause anxiety. While I was walking around, the temperature dropped from 37 to 32 degrees, and what was rain is now some nice quality fluffy snow, which is nice because now we've achieved our hidden secondary goal of seeing some fresh snow. The strobing string lights are tripping me out. Well, we are headed back down and it's absolutely stunning outside. The snow is accumulating quite fast, and it's nice that's transforming the landscape into a nice white wintry wonderland. But I guess I'm glad I have both all-wheel drive and chains if necessary. It looks like we're in for a long drive ahead, which does cause my anxiety to elevate a little bit. But again, I'll do my breathing and relaxing exercises to manage those symptoms. So I'm just playing some music and relaxing the best I can. Well, it's time for our oh moment of the day in 3, 2, 1. After a moment like that, I'd like to thank whoever invented the ABS system and the all-wheel drive system. We're almost past the lake and we're hit some fairly treacherous road. Got a couple cars that are completely stopped in the opposing lane, and we're taking our sweet time, which is completely justified right now. The road's pretty slippery, and after our previous incident, we don't want to repeat that again. Even up here on the right side and the left side, there's a car stopped on the left side, but the right side, it looks like there's people probably putting chains on and checking tire depths or something. Getting stuck behind these cars is actually a good thing for exposure. It's not something I expected, and it raises my anxiety levels, and it gives me the opportunity to practice my exercises. And so right now I'll do my breathing exercises, which I'll inhale 7 seconds through my nose and exhale 5 seconds through my mouth. And I'll do this usually 3 times and then go back to breathing normally. And again, after a few minutes, I can really tell my anxiety starts to subside a little bit. We're coming up on a check where they ask you if you have your chains or if you have all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or both. And just kind of suggests, that you drive safely and, maintain a certain speed for the conditions, which is nice. We then discuss the pros and cons of using a sulfate-free conditioner before he asked me to move along. Now that we passed the lake, the roads don't seem to be so slick and the traction is pretty decent. Unfortunately, the person leading this caravan is doing it between 5 and 7 miles per hour. Those kind road workers back there said 25 is about the max, which is significantly faster than our current speed. Thankfully, we have reached a passing zone and it's about time to put that all-wheel drive to work. It's nice to get past that slow car. I completely understand why they're going so slow, having only front-wheel drive and no chains. It is smart to drive within your vehicle's abilities and your own abilities. Drive safe out there. Well, my GoPro battery is about to die, so I can't show you the rest of Phase 2 and Phase 3, but it was a successful exposure today, and I know this will help me in the future. Lessons for the day. 1. Bring more GoPro batteries. 2. Get an external mic so you don't have to do a voiceover for the entire video because none of the audio showed up on the recording. And C. Get a mount so we don't all have to listen to the squeaking of my wipers. Last, but most importantly, with planning, proper application of our techniques, a reward system in place, we can have a successful exposure and make our lives a little easier, a little happier. Thank you for joining me today and watching what is the first of a series of exposure therapy videos. I leave you with these thoughts. Take care of yourself and be easy on yourself because there is only one of you. Good night.